I screwed up over here. I thought you had to sacrifice a mage, or actually just use a mage as an emissary. The emissary has to sacrifice a critter other than himself, which could end up in bad results. So now, well, that's, I guess, a use for that herd, assuming that can be used. I know that there's a list of things that you can't use other than disembodied spirits and treasures. So there's at least one use for the dinosaurs there, and maybe some of the other herds if there are other herds in the game. Well, obviously these guys. So I can wait for them to slowly move. It'll take me about 4 turns. I could also wait for Trollkin to get up there. They'd make a good choice. I gotta check to see this guy. That's odd or even. No, that's the guaranteed guy. So, yeah, I failed with the dragon. I'll get to some other stuff. This point that came to my mind exceeded everything else. Okay, so now I have an alliance with the illusionary folk. I don't know how terribly valuable that is, but we'll be creating illusionary armies as places to jump to and whatever. Let's see. Point-wise, Sartre threw a lot of points into the dragon newts and didn't choose to roll for anything. This is kind of troublesome. What they really want, they wanted the second dragon because they've got a chance of killing Jariel with a dragon. Yeah, I know. That may be my best opportunity right now. And if I'm going to get another dragon to defend myself with, it's not that terrible, I suppose. I also have one big shot left, the shot from Crag Spider. So, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of combat capability up to the front. Remember, attacking is to your advantage, not necessarily being on the offensive. So, for example, if the Sartorites fall back, the Lunars might march on them and be in the position where the Sartorites get the first strike in on that force. So I feel like Sartre is going to have to go into withdrawal at this point as best as they can. This is my movement. I did not launch the dragon here because I forgot the stupid wording of the whole dragon roll. It's really horrible. I mean, so there's a lot of places where, anyway, in this case, dragons can attack, and it seems to indicate that superheroes are killed because they can make a check. But then it says something about, I really hate how this is fucking handled. Someone with a little, yeah, it's an early game and it's better than a lot of modern ones in terms of this, but it gets really bad in some places, and this is one of them. Okay, so we go into, normally every unit is eliminated. Now, earlier we had something, maybe, no, I don't know. However, if there's a dragon among them, they're both eliminated. Heroes and superheroes eliminated in dragon fights can attempt heroic escapes. Okay, it all sounds pretty good here. Now, here's the sentence, or a little portion of the paragraph that kills me. A superhero may be able to save other units stacked with it. What? Do they get a saving throw or something? I don't know. If one of the stacks within 1 hex of a dragon fight contains superheroes, okay, it's explaining it, the active player must decide between eliminating one of the superheroes and eliminating all of the units in the stack other than the superhero. What the fuck? I mean, superheroes alone are eliminatable, but if they're stacked with units, they can choose to save themselves or the unit, or what? What's going on here? I have no fucking clue. I think what it is that the superhero can save himself, but if he's stacked with other units, he could go kill the dragon and prevent them. And I think that's what I said in my rules introduction when I hit the dragons. But man, they sure managed to word things in a way that it's not easy to cope with. Anyway, what it comes down to is I don't get a guaranteed kill on Jariel. I'd be able to destroy the bat. That's worth something, there's no question. But, you know, I'd have a choice between Jariel dying, who may come back, 2/3 chance, or the bat dying. Do I want to take the shot? I don't know. You know, I would kill these units, but this is not even a terribly good time because that's the lunar core there. So they're going to come back next turn. I don't want to cope with that. So anyway, I'm using them as a defensive sop here and throwing some spirits out, trying to deal with those stupid Tusk Riders, and withdrawing back here actually because I can't go through the Grayslander land. And you know, I don't want to send just this guy and a dinosaur out this way. This is where the main action is happening, especially with those exiles in place. I got to make sure that I win here. Although, to tell you the truth, a little bit of activity down here might force the Lunars to worry about that, in that I could capture something. I don't know. So I'll take care of the spirit combats and the rebuilds, maybe come back. Coming back after the spirit combat because they were kind of ouchies. Over here I found a couple of mages, out-spirited me, and likewise here I found this and this underneath the stack, which actually had more firepower than Crag Spirit, the spider thingy, Crag Spider's spirit does. Crag Spider lost her spirit, and that sucks. That was one of her big advantages. She's a decent critter. Now she'll still have defensive magic available, but she no longer has... Oh crap. I hope that hasn't just gotten rid of her auto kill. I think it did. Alright. So I used the movement spirit to fly Jar Eel and the bat. I hope that's all. Yeah, the Cav I don't think could make it. I'm trying to remember. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, the Cav had to stay behind. That wasn't quite fast enough. Up to try to knock out this force before it can make a sacrifice over to the Tuskers. This thing I failed to get a diplomacy on. I also took a shot at the Grayslanders. The point spread wasn't enough. In fact, it may not have even been in my favor. Yeah, I had 30, they had 27. They're up to 32 on it now. So that didn't convert over. So overall, a bad turn for the diplomacy side, but if I can strip this away, these aren't terribly potent. However, I would rather not see them taken out by... I'd rather not see them gained by the Sartorites. Right now things feel manageable. You see I'm wiping out the Beastmen here, maybe not entirely, but we'll see. And then over here strikes against the Sartorite forces. I'm leaving Crag Spider alone because we're a big magical ability. I don't want to get sucker punched the way that the Sartorites did on their turn. Mixed results on those attacks. I gotta check this Beastman, who is permanently dead. Let's see. Well, obviously the beasts were wiped out, the Sun Dome Temple there. But look here, these guys all survive. Really bad rolls on some of the spell rolls. No damage to the Emperor. But boy, that would have been more painful if I had been facing a shot back at me like last time. Obviously, this is wiped out. Also managed to get the Illusionary Army, the Puppeteers. Magic power, boom, they're gone. They had nowhere to retreat to because they hadn't set up any little armies yet, so I can take their things off the board. And things are definitely grinding down towards a close. Next turn, reinforcements come in, the Full Moon Corps, and I got some more points here. I did well last turn, managed to get my... Well, maybe it just means I lost a lot of good stuff, but I managed to get my 6-point cav in, which meant 2 6-point cav got destroyed for that. But it looks like I've got, you know, again, nothing I really want to turn in here. I can turn these guys in. I'll get rid of this one because this one has a magical ability. Not an ability, but a significant magical defense where he can actually fire back. So that's good enough for him. And then we move to here, to there, I'm gonna put some dice there to remind me. Yeah, we're about halfway through at this point. Not quite, but again, you know, the game usually seems to get itself decided. I guess if people really drag their feet a lot, you might not see the game get decided very easily. But it feels like with the advantage on offense on the attacker, it really kind of compels you to push and do things to people. I forgot to read about Cragspider's ability, but I'm pretty sure it's based on her spirit power, which means she's not going to be able to launch it. Here's a sign of why, you know, some of these alliances don't make a lot of sense. Over the Exiles, these are people who are exiles from the Lunar Tarsh, right? One of their cults is the Moon Haters. This is a group that's the whole purpose in life is to resist and destroy the Lunar Empire. It doesn't make a lot of sense for them to have allied, right? I mean, yeah. And there's nothing in the game, unless it's the random events chart, but there's nothing that's come up that has in any sense affected that kind of situation. I mean, that's along the lines of the elves joining Sauron, or there are a lot of equivalents in Dark Emperor, like the Starkeep people being influenced by the Necromancer. It's just there's such hatred there that it's almost impossible to conceive that they would fight in alliance with the Lunars. For whatever reason, and this is what happens when you roll dice, but, you know, I put some throttles on it. The Sartorites decided to throw all 25 points into the Ethelrest. I think they may go for him. That's it'll work if they do, actually. But I don't see that he buys the lot. We'll see. The Lunars, on the other hand, threw their points across the board in a defensive manner, mainly on the Dragon Newts. They don't particularly want to call anything out. They feel like they're winning this game well. As long as nothing changes, they'll be in good shape. For random events, a giant showed up. Now the giant's going to move in random movement phase. That's at the beginning of each player's turn. It's not very random. The players control it. It's kind of, they just get to move the giant around. But it's random in the sense that you're both moving it, so it probably isn't going to do much. It'll just be stomping around over here on the Vale of Flowers. That's somewhat disappointing to me. I can't find anything that seems to indicate, unless there's something here. And it specifically does say it's normal. It's like normal movement. It doesn't particularly impress me as a really random violent action. It just means that where giants can show up, and there were feet there, I don't know where else, probably somewhere else, that they'll stomp around in that area, and it's an unpleasant place to be around. But there's no real reason anybody's going to be heading out here, I don't think. Okay, so here we got the Black Horse Company in place with Ethelrest. Some weird things here. First of all, I looked into this a little bit again, obviously, to try to understand what the hell's going on. And we have the cloak, which is an item. Now the cloak creates this cloud of blackness that makes movement hard for anybody else. And then after 2 turns, it's going to generate this thing, which is humongous. But some things are immune to the cloak, notably dragons, and that's not really a problem for me. So I may actually want to just set the cloak off somewhere, because its movement rules don't necessarily, I don't know. This is a potent unit. 15 movement, 6 combat, not much magic. It strikes me as tremendously possibly useful. On the other hand, maybe the cloak's useful too. I just don't want to get caught up like I did with Cragspider and lose something important. Most of the units are being placed here to try to deal with this Hydra. I managed to get the dragon now, and that's going to help too. That's going to give me something. And of course, Keener Than shows up. I put him here to prevent the possibility. Well, see, the dog can rush here. Now, here's where things get weird. The doggy. When the dog makes his death run, you release the dog and he's going to run towards the edge of the board. You get to choose which hex row to send him down. Doom run. Okay. The Hound eliminates... Okay. The Hound moves in a straight line from the hex he occupies to the edge of the board. The Hound eliminates every unit in its path. Once the Hound reaches the map board edge, it's eliminated. What's not really clear here is whether the Hound is like some lightning bolt that shoots across the map and kills everything in its way, if Keener Than doesn't divert it, or if it moves by its movement allowance. Now, if you might say, okay, why does it have a movement allowance otherwise? Well, because Sir Ethelred is riding it. I'm going to play it that it does have to actually move, but you know, that makes it fairly ineffectual at long range. Like, I could fire it off right here and kill a couple of units really quickly. Boom, 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 boom. Right down the line, I think. Maybe I'm... Yeah. And then it would just shoot off the map. And everything would just be dead, and it would be an incredibly potent weapon. As it stands, though, it doesn't strike me as such. Now, Ethelred can't leave here this turn for the same reason that I had to stay with the exiles here last turn. But the dragon can move. Alright, let's get going with the attacks and such. Alrighty, we dropped a dragon here, figuring that'll kill off a bunch of stuff. Some of it's lunar, which half of it comes back. I'm feeling feverish here. And I'm also launching an attack here. I don't know how well this is going to work, but, you know, if Cragspider can't win a fight, she can't win a fight. And I better move this guy. I forgot about him. I don't really have to, but I'll put him up here. I don't really want to. I gotta get these guys out of there, too. I forgot to move everything up here. I moved the Goblin, or Trollkin eventually. Well... wrecked those, but we didn't get the hero. And likewise, this attack, it was a lunar full moon core there, and the Red Emperor who survived the attack. So, not as much damage as we would have liked to have inflicted. Okay, the lunar side, they spent more points on Andragius last turn, or this turn. They decided to fire it off at 35. Unfortunately, that wasn't good enough. But basically, the last time they saw a bid by the Sartorites, they paid out. We're talking about in the 10 region. I've got these spies. I've launched an attack here on Cragspider and some heavy spirit support over against there. Tried to position some stuff against Ethelred. And now the question is, well, what do I want to do with this spy? I threw a physical agent here against Electi. And speaking of which, I don't know. I don't think he's a hero. Well, I'll try to figure out what to do with my spy. I don't want to waste it. Well, the assassin died trying to... Yeah, he died trying to go in here. That's another penalty on my diplomacy. I had not thrown all my mages into play. Managed to attack into this hex with, or no, I'm sorry, this hex with mages. They didn't do much, or with spirits. As you can see, Cragspider's stacks destroyed. She herself was damaged and forced to retreat. And this was eliminated through spirit combat, so I didn't get to advance there. Anyway, I would pull into 6-point moon phase, 7-point phase seems powerful, but, you know, bringing the bat back into play in the primary area meant that I was able to, I'd be able to have those 7-point units anyway. I did have to, when given an option to kill off this, that was killed by Spirit Combat, just to get rid of the power, you know, of the lunar cycle, which tends to be higher than regular units anyway. And the option was between that and regular infantry. Got some rebuilds up here. I managed to get a 5-point cav, for example. I gotta be kind of careful. I mean, I'm shifting some forces over to deal with Ethelrust, but because he could take all of my territory without me, if I don't provide some sort of screen against him. Yeah, of course, that would be exchanged for whatever I can get against the Sartorites. At this point, it looks to me like the forces here are a little bit stronger comparatively than what Sartor has facing the Lunars, but I still feel like I probably want to shift even more over, just because that is a fairly potent little fight, and I've got almost all of my magic. Well, no, I've got all of my magic focusing this way. It's hard to pull your mages out though when you know they're useful. I've got this wind spirit. If I get that off of the little force that it's on, I could start shifting some stuff quickly, but moving the wind spirit to another unit is kind of painful. I guess I could super stack here or something. That seems risky. Although I can't think of a specific risk other than this dragon, which is not going to quite be able to reach all the way that way. They're so potent. Alright, let's move. Let me talk about the diplomatic points expended this turn. Sartor threw all theirs into the Graysland. The Lunars spread theirs out. Again, trying to go for a holding pattern. They lost Ethelrist. Well, that gives them more of a chance, maybe. To give them a chance at taking a shot at something else, probably. But they got stung last time, and the only way that they would do something is if they threw all their points into it. Why can I justify Sartor not calling the Grayslands out? Here's why. The Grayslands don't have a humongous amount in them. They have a lot for the Grayslands. 57, I only need a 15-point swing. I actually have that, but I don't know that. If I reveal one, and I'm wrong, I'm actually probably revealing where a lot of my points are, so that might open up an attack that the Lunars could make. The Lunars haven't gotten a lot of things successfully. I don't know what their points spread out as, but I kind of feel, actually they've gotten a decent number, but they got this. I think that's it. But I feel like I'm probably behind in the points, so I would rather pump up the points to something I think they're going to call. And they need troops. They need troops up against Ethelrist. This is me trying to justify the die roll results. And so they're going to try to sandbag this. Make sure he doesn't get it, but also maybe get some additional bonus points. This is tough because Sartor really does need the troops. Maybe if they pump more in there, they'll be able to get it. Really, Sartor could make a good argument for all three of the options. Ethelrist is tough to argue why they went for it. Although you got to say, it's created a powerful force over here. So the dice are smarter than I am, apparently. Alright, slow move forward up here. Not able to engage quite yet. Light engagement here, trying to do what I can. I can't move the dragon across. And this force is going to launch a quick spirit attack. I've got to get the dragon into range, as it were. Right, and after the combat, it did not go well for Sartre. You can see they did no damage to the Lunars. They had the advantage. First swing, more points, but you know, the dice, the terrain, even not counting the terrain, they wouldn't have been able to do damage. I didn't reach that point where I realized, hey, the terrain comes into effect here. Very little left for them. Spirit-wise, just one spirit. It looks tough, but we'll see. On to the Lunars. I have to do their diplomatic stuff. And again, I'm going to take lots of breaks. I was feeling really feverish, headache and everything. I don't know what was going on. My eyes not processing right or something. Okay, and that moves us at the end of 8 here. The Lunars have started really shifting forces over into place to face to Athelrist. They lost this to a sacrifice. I probably shouldn't have even tried, because I don't really want to know the answer, because that's something Ethelrist could take instead of me. Got a couple of mages moving over here. This was a tremendously successful turn for the Lunars, mainly die rolling. They won the battle against Electi. This was a close fought, in terms of numbers, spirit battle. He had 3 mages stacked with him. No spirits. Well, there was 1 spirit. Now they're completely gone. Oh, I gotta check Crag Spider. Yeah, she's dead too. The fortress here was taken between the bat and some magic here didn't do much effect. I threw some spirits at these things. They didn't do anything. But overall, it feels like there is just nothing over in Sarkar. And there's not a lot of replacements to come either. They've pretty much depleted their replacement potential. So, yeah, both sides are really kind of wearing down in terms of numbers. But it's clear that the Imperial Lunars have a significant advantage right now. The question, of course, is can I get the dragon in range? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I still can't hit there. This would be powerful. I moved the spirit off, dropped him off to give to another unit. If I can find a worn out mage, I don't think I have one without a spirit, I could send him flying over here, but he'd have to find something to pick up. Oh jeez, I keep forgetting to move these fuckers. That was back in the Sartre turn. Just Trolk and they're probably lost in the woods. Yeah. Alrighty. The Sartorites win big in the diplomatic tests. They threw their points into Androgeus and triggered both it and the Grayslanders and succeeded with both. Now that leaves only the Dragon Newts left. And unfortunately, the way the points are spread, the Lunars are going to take a shot at them, but there's not a 45-point difference. So the Dragon Newts are going to stay neutral pretty much. Something might convert them, but not likely. And I never remember this damn giant. I probably should start moving it. The problem is, if I move it with one side, the other side can negate that movement every turn. So, I don't know how much value they really are, unless somebody happens to go into this area. I forgot the event. The Lunars are going to get some replacement troops. These are not regular replacements. They're, you know, additional reinforcements sent. So they came out of the really dead pile. They can only take infantry or cav. There's some good cav dead, so why not? And now the Sartre has no magic, basically. The game's gotten really easy. Yeah, I still have the dragon and I still have Ethelrist, but I don't have to worry about trying to find all of these now. I still have a worry with the red mages, but there aren't as many. I destroyed the unit there. The Hellhound got shot up by the missiles, and I don't recover yet, for whatever that matters. that affects Ethelred's movement, though. He's quite a hammer. Powerful forces there. A lot of speed. And if I can add the Greyslander horses to it, that's going to increase it significantly. Alright, let's see what the Lunars can do here. Okay, now on the Lunar side of the turn, push over to here. And it's actually getting kind of tight here. Heavy magical attacks here, a little bit down here, and combined magical and physical. Well, the magical attacks largely didn't work except here where we managed to knock out a big cav and scare off the horses. Elsewhere, though, our magic is our big advantage right now, and we kind of want to keep things spread out. I got to worry about this dragon, obviously. If it can hit in here, that could do some real damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's still too far away. There is some threat. Wintertop could be captured, and that would cost me one of my diplomatic points every turn. That's not too big a deal. I'm more worried about losing one of these fortresses that I can no longer get back. Of course, I've already taken one here, and there are others that are fairly easy to take. However, I want to focus on getting Boldholm itself. Why? Because if I take Boldholm, I wipe out all of Sartor's diplomatic points as long as I'm holding it. They won't generate any more. So that's the way to get the Dragon Newts. Yeah, I tried to trigger them and learned that my 83 points wasn't enough. So really the only way to get the Dragon Newts into this would be to grab a capital. And that would be go for either side. Alright. It's kind of funny because I got myself kind of out of wanting to play for a while, wanting to do other things. Out of everything, I tried to do something that just didn't work out well. And then, luckily, I guess I'm more addicted now and want to play more. The problem there is I'm trying to read the rules to something else, and I'm like, all my time that I'm willing to kind of expend on game, well, I end up running over here to play instead of wanting to settle down and read rules. Well, this is kind of nice at the beginning of a new turn. There's no longer any reason that I have to spend the 25 points a turn that each country gets. Since it's the same, and it's only going into one place, I just don't have to worry. For random events, we got another giant, probably as useless as the last. They could have an effect against, say, Crag Spider, if they had moved against them at the point when they first came in. But I just don't see much point to being over in the Vale of Flowers area, and unless somebody misses moving the giant when it's moving towards them, there's really just not a lot that these guys are going to do. Alright, let's start with Sartor. I guess there's nothing pre-turn anymore. There's not going to be any diplomacy on the major, obviously, until somebody knows they have an advantage. We've already had a point fire go off, so Sartor's aware of how much the Lunars have, and the Lunars are vaguely aware of how much Sartor has. They may think Sartor has more than they do, but they know that they're not in range. In fact, that they lost 5 points on the last turn. There's only one minor neutral left, this Hydra thing, I guess, and that's an expensive task to get in a lot of ways. So let's see whether what's on the board is sufficient for Sartor to try to save themselves. Two big goals in the Tarsh. The Temple of the Reaching Moon, take that out and the glow line goes. Glow line's not such a big deal. Most of the forces that are affected by it are over here right now, I think, although there are some mages here now. And furthest ends up affecting the diplomacy the same way the Boldholm would. We may well see a case where both sides have captured the other's capital regionally. You can see the Sartorite allied forces, Atheryst and the Gracelanders. That's quite a powerful force hitting right here. And I don't feel like the Lunars have anything to really respond with that. Can they withdraw? Yeah, there's a possibility into that hex. I'd have to lose some troops, but this looks pretty hopeless. This one I probably don't have enough strength even to withdraw. Remember, you got to leave a sixth of the enemy's strength behind. Well, maybe I do. The problem is it's really hard for me to convince myself to withdraw, so here I had like 27 strength points up against 9. I could have pulled half of the force out. Instead I stand there and end up taking the entirety in losses. I just have a really tough time sacrificing half of a force to save the other half, when the reality is I'll probably lose everything. It's just hard for my mindset. Anyway, with the fortress, it should be a little bit easier to absorb or a little bit stronger position. But I actually thought, oh, I'm better than the 6. Yeah, now I get to roll on the 9 table. I'll do some damage. No, you don't get to roll. The attacker has the advantage. Get out of there. Stupid. Withdrawal here would have made sense too, although I would have lost the fortress. Because now I'm pretty weak. Keener Thane is there. He's not a hero, I don't believe. And we'll have to, you know, any kind of withdrawal that'll be done has to come out this hex, pay extra, and then run up. It's going to be much harder probably if everything withdrew. We'd be able to get about here, which is useless. We'll die there just as we die where we are. So not making choices to retreat, definitely, you know, you're surrendering those units basically. You don't know it for sure though, because combat table is very random. It could do nothing to you, you know, because the 1/6 losses wouldn't have hurt either stack actually. So, well, no, not with the dinosaur on top. Yeah, they wouldn't have hurt either stack, but as it stands, they're able to pound their way through because of some decent rolls at least. Alright, we'll get over to the lunar phase and see what they can do. You know, it's not like it's all sunshine and roses for Sartor. This is... Boldholm's in significant danger here. They're relying quite heavily on their magical power, so a long-range strike here, but they had to leave Bagnot with their mages to be able to hit these forces. Otherwise, pulling back as much as they can. I got Keener Thane out of there. I can probably shouldn't leave him on the top. Maybe he'll last a little longer that way. And then some magical strikes back here with the single major attack happening at Dangerford. But remember, we got a superhero to deal with here in Androgynous or whatever. Alright, largely successful magic. The problem is the one place where I most wanted to hit hard. These guys in the glow line, 7 points each. They were unable to do anything. At least I fed the bat over here. But yeah, the situation looks quite grim over here. The Temple of the Reaching Moon is ready to fall. It's completely empty. I think that kills the glow line for the scenario too, but I just can't hold on to it. And there goes my advantage as the Lunars against the Sartor in terms of I can defend my own territory much better because of that glow line. Well, if that glow line's gone, I can't. Stop being called. I lose that edge, but I don't know. This looked stronger comparatively. Like guess before the Grayslander army threw its weight in, and before Androgeus shows up here and becomes a significant power. There was something else I wanted to talk about here, but I'm having trouble remembering anything. Oh, I threw additional units in. So this is overstacked now in the sense that not everyone can be defended in the fortress, but I can withdraw a couple of the weaker units, and that withdrawal happens in the melee phase. That's important because I can use archers to defend myself. Now, it isn't the case here, but still the overstacking in a defensive location still provides some advantage. But fortresses are weaker in some ways than maybe being in the mountains, where you could overstack as much as you like and you have the full defensive advantage. So I guess that's what I wanted to talk about. Okay, so the nobody cares about those damn things. The Sartorites, nobody's worrying about diplomacy anymore for the reasons I mentioned. Sartorites managed to grab the Temple of the Reaching Moon. No more glow line. The glow spot still exists though for the bat over here. Launching a major attack here on Furthest. If we can take that, we start cutting into the amount of points that the Lunars get towards the Dragon Newts. But we're running out of time here. It's turn 11. There's only 14 in the game, so there's still room for an expansion. But we're only talking 25 points per turn, so this goes up to, assuming we knew what it was, this goes up to 86. We're not there yet. It's going to take like 3 or 4 turns to build it up. And that's assuming Sartor never calls the Dragon Newts and tries to get them in and gives the Lunars another 5 points. The Lunars had a chance, though, if they could have taken Boldholm and if they can hold Furthest, or they have a chance still. The Dragon's kind of a weird situation here. I had to detach one of the Black Horse Troop in order to kind of give the Dragon a safe place to sit. On its own, it's pretty indefensible. So it's got to sit with a unit, or units preferably. But I need my units to launch my attacks. And I actually... yeah, I don't have a way. See, I was thinking, geez, if I could attack here and then advance. But no, even with an advance, I'm not going to get into a hex that wasn't adjacent to that hex. I've got the other attack on Furthest. That is about it right here. Oh, I'm launching an attack on these exiles here. You know, the idea is to cut down the amount of power that the Lunars can throw against Boldholm, but I don't think I can stop them from taking it. Oh, and the ducks are sneaking up behind. There's a couple of fortresses that back there that they can grab. Excuse me, Trollkin, not ducks. They should be about equivalent. They're not. The Trollkin are about equal to human fighters, which they shouldn't be. The also, this fortress, I don't think the Lunars ever actually took. By positioning a little bit more like this, I can prevent any withdrawal opportunity, which is a problem because that means some of the units will be out of the fortress, and I gotta choose my stacking accordingly. Those units are gonna fall pretty quickly. It's kind of unfortunate because you kind of want your strongest units to survive, but your strongest ones can also absorb the damage. They're also going to be the only ones that get to attack back, assuming no damage. So I'm going to put actually weaker things on the top because they'll absorb the damage, and then I'll have forces that can attack back. Although I wiped this out, I think it's quite possible that Boldholm's going to fall to these forces. 1, 2, 3, 4. At least some of these bigger guys can come in. The Bat and the Emperor and Jar'eel certainly can. So I threw out a bunch of Cav. I'm getting myself only one of these crappy things. Maybe my last chance to draw a reinforcement or a replacement unit that way. And that'll move things over to the lunar turn. Furthest did not fall, but it came close to it. There wasn't that huge a strength here. Only 27 points, but I got a maximal roll and blew through even the doubled defense values. So it's getting kind of ugly over here. And here, you know, both sides are losing their home countries to these raids. Okay, so the Lunars open up their attacks. They're safe here in the fortress. Over here, they're making an attack on the dragon. The reason being there's only one unit under there. They're pretty sure that it can't be too much. In fact, they can kind of see the gray, so they know it's a 5. So they're looking at a 10 strength point force there. Now, the dragon can be put underneath to protect it, and that'll help a little bit. But the goal here is if they can wipe out that dragon, that takes a big advantage away from the Sartorites. Over here, we're launching an attack on both Boldholm. Splitting the attack is ugly, but speed kind of indicated that I couldn't hit Boldholm with everything. And also on Androgynous, or Androgeus, or whatever his name is. Its name. This is kind of a gamble. I'm hoping the dice go well for me, because if I can eliminate the hero, that'll help tremendously. However, it's in terrain that requires me to do 30 points. That's a lot of damage. Luckily for me, I've got some of my potent lunar, the Moon Core units here, and the bats here, so that's going to be 14 strength points more. I got quite a bit of damage that I could allocate. It's just a question of will I get a shot at that, and I'm trying to add to that with this. Here we're throwing the magic in there. Somewhere or another, all kind of mages throwing in their power here. They'll be bonused because of the glow spot. Over here though, I no longer have the glow line, so these guys are just worth 9 for those 3 mages. Hoping to pick off some big guns. There's a dinosaur on top, the 10-point importance, and I haven't bothered with this before. I've neglected to assign damage to this unit. The spirits would have wiped everything out. I want to leave this here so I have an opportunity to advance into Boldholm. It's important enough that I'm pretty certain to take it. And there might be a disruption on the 2 there. There's a slight possibility I get a unit disrupt. Well, nothing major happened here. Ended up taking Boldholm, great. I was pretty assured. But the dragon, unable to come up with the 5 points even that I needed to hit that. They didn't do anything back. And then over here, I was unable to come up with the 30. I got 27. But ended up losing 2 of my exile forces, including a mage. And that's really beginning to weaken me. However, I get to build some more forces, and the Sartorites aren't going to get any dip points, which might just mean I'll be at 108 with my 25. That, assuming no random events or anything, that is enough that the dragon newts will come in on my side. And I think I'm going to have to trigger them. I feel really pressured as the Lunars here. It'll be kind of the last chance, and the last of the neutrals coming in. To wrap this up, I wanted to point out, now these guys have been usually coming in on the 3 turns. I made a specific point of killing this thing using Spirit Magic, I think, on Boldholm. It was particularly important. Wherever it was particularly important to kill, and was my first target because the glow spot was right near him. So that would have been a potent advantage. All right, given the fact dragon newts are likely to come in, I think we need another video here. We're getting still 5 turns or so, so there's a good deal of game left.